No glasses. Good Lord. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everything in between, thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to spend some time with Bull Blitz Uncut. I'm your host, Booga Peters, and I'm really bad at this sometimes. So, what I'd like to do is encourage you right off the bat to go ahead and like it and subscribe here on the YouTube page for Bull Blitz Uncut. Uh, but I'd be remiss if I didn't get our guest involved immediately. She's been on the show. She's one of the best guests I've had in the last 15 years, and that's why she keeps coming back. I hope we're joined by Taylor of the Electric Edge podcast. Taylor, thank you so much for joining us. I know how you're doing. I'm not going to ask you how to do that on this show. Let's put a bow, if you will, on the debacle in Duval. It's one of the worst Chargers games I've really seen schematically, injury wise. I mean, just literally all over the board,
Yeah.
the entire globe. I don't know if I want to ask you about takeaways, but was there anything that stood out to you where we're like, yeah, that could get better, or boy, this better get better, or we're going to be in a world of trouble?
Well, it definitely better get better. Luckily we have a bye week. Maybe some time off will do this team some good. But we have a tough stretch coming out of that bye. So all the stuff that we saw on Sunday, whether, we can go on and on about the offensive line, Herbert getting pounded, the defense giving up 35 points. The laundry list goes on and on, but this team has to play better in order to get into the playoffs. I talked about this on my show. The Ravens are coming. The Ravens are hot right now. The Chiefs can go on a run. We play them one more time.
Anybody who's given up on Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, shame on you. Keep going, Taylor.
Yeah. We got to play Denver again. We got to play Houston, which has a great defense. And, even we got to play the Raiders, but, we've seen some bright spots with the Raiders defense, especially against Denver a couple weeks ago. So it's not going to be an easy task, but we cannot see the level of play we saw on Sunday continue by any stretch of the imagination.
I love that Brian's already like, hey, let's talk about Bozeman. We'll get there. I love you, brother. Appreciate you so much. And by the way, I want to point out to John Kegley, who is literally one of my favorite people on the entire planet. Man, it cannot be worse than losing to the Raiders 63-21 ever.
I was at that game.
Even though it was a Brandon Staley coached team, should it end up in what I hope it will be, and what some of us prognosticated from the beginning, it will still be a very good addition in that game allowed us to get Jim Harbaugh. There are a lot of questions surrounding that. He's a little dismissive. I don't know how many people watched him on the sideline this last game, but I wasn't as frustrated with him as I was Joe Ortiz, because I'm going to stick with that because I'm an ass. But I will say that there was just a little, what seemed to me like a little bit of an inability to provide direction to either side of the ball. Hey, we got Curtis Givens in here. I see you. What up, Doe? And Hugo, love you. Terry, your shit will be going out on Friday. Appreciate you all. We're going to get to the chat here in a little bit. I don't mean to harp on and you saw the quad picture that I put out there on the multiple social media pages of Harbaugh, Ortiz, Minter, and Roman. I'm still going to put the blame on Ortiz more than I will anybody else, because it was pointed out to me by a very close friend of mine. It was a Parcells quote, really. If you're gonna try to make the meal, you at least deserve to shop for the groceries. So when you look at this team, in your opinion, and we'll make it quick, Ortiz has enough power, if you will. He's the guy who ultimately makes the decision. Are we concerned about whether or not Harbaugh has the input that he deserves, considering he brought Greg Roman in as an offensive coordinator? And a lot of us are concerned that Ortiz does not draft for a Greg Roman offense.
Yeah, I've seen that on X this week as well. But, I saw your post say about the shirt that says 11-6 pop, right? And I will continue to go back to that week to week. And regardless if the Chargers win or not, I mean, you look at the pressures week to week. I mean, we made the Jags defense look like a top 5 defense this week. And I talked to Kyle on my show last week, And he's like, yeah, the Jags defense gets pressures, but they can't get to the quarterback. That was not the case on Sunday.
Listen, you saw my tweet. I know you at least liked one of them. There were several, and I'm tired, not like three. I mean, it's not a few, several plays where every offensive lineman, including Zion Johnson, which we'll get to him in a minute, but where they all lost their assignments, where they all lost their jobs on those plays. We've seen it on X and Twitter and every other media thing, that line collapsing, and then Emmanuel Acho and Nick Wright, those cutesy guys, they love to just throw out there that he's shit again, and that's adorable. But I'll tell you right now, I can tell you I've watched football for a very, very long time. Phillip Rivers might have an argument because I'm a Chargers fan, but I'm not sure I've seen a quarterback do more with less than what Herbert does. KLS hasn't really come out and been a factor at all. He's a healthy scratch. We've seen what's happened with Tony Jefferson. This team has this weird dynamic of just trying to figure shit out on the fly. Sometimes it feels like there isn't necessarily a definite plan in place, and we're just, we'll figure it out. We're always fluid. I don't know if that's a successful plan to win playoff games. Your thoughts on that? And has Harbaugh facilitated a situation in which this kind of thing is allowed to fester and happen, and it shouldn't be a problem as we look forward to the 2026 season?
I don't think any sane person looks at this team and say we can roll it back again with what's going on, whether it's coaching, whether it's personnel. Someone had commented on my episode talking about, well, who's to blame for Sunday's loss? And, I was critical of some players in the offensive line, but to be honest, it's on the coaching staff. I mean, you faced Liam Cohen last year with the Bucs, right? You know what offense he runs. Jesse Minter got a taste of it, and he had the same result, just in a different time zone. And I think Harbaugh has Ortiz was Harbaugh's pick for a GM, right? So
hold on. Can we point that out too and actually accentuate that? It was less Ortiz was the guy first. It was Harbaugh kind of picked his guy. I hope people understand that. So when you see a fan like me or 80 or John Kegley or Taylor or Jessica or anybody who knows this team, a Terry Tucker, a Hugo, a Brian, I could keep going. Why the hell did they not draft for a Greg Roman offense? We're not going to stick on that too long for sure. But I just felt as though I'm with you guys. I love the Y slot that is Oronde Gadsden. I just don't see the consistency in that, considering Greg Roman wants to run power. He wants to run duo. He wants to get outside. He wants to do a lot of shit inside. This offensive line, clearly, you don't get to plan for both of your all-pro tackles going out. But what you did get to plan for was supplementing some starters along the interior. Thanks for the Mekhi Becton experiment. I think a lot of us have kind of decided where that went. Some of us, me, decided on March 12th, I don't want anything to do with that. Because when you look at the Eagles' offensive line and what he performed alongside to win a Super Bowl, oh, by the way, their O-line coach is probably the best in the league. But I'm sure 80 would have an argument about that. Maybe in the league, but not at Missouri because he loves Brandon Jones there. The O-line coach, listen, Taylor, I'm griping. I'm rambling. I look at this team. We're going into a bye week. I'm not necessarily too concerned, and I know that sounds weird, but I will say this. As we head into the bye week, they're getting their rest. Coaches, players, all taking some time off. It's Raiders week, next check. Mm-hmm. The next check is Raiders week. You mentioned a game against Denver where they gave them some problems up front along the defensive line because I don't know, Max Crosby is fucking incredible. Mm-hmm. You look at the Raider week game. How concerned are you about the Chargers being able to show up after their last showing?
Well, I would hope after getting annihilated in Jacksonville, you have some level of motivation to redeem yourself, especially at home. That's going to be another crowd of, 50-50 Raiders fans and Chargers fans. I think the players understand how important of a game this is. Going 8-4 instead of 7-5. I think that you need 10 to 11 wins to make the playoffs this year. And you're kind of looking at the schedule now to where I'm going to find these 3 or 4 wins. And the Raiders one has to be a win at this point. So I think even though you have a relaxing week, kind of unplugged from football, the pressure is going to be on once they start practicing again, that it is a must-win game at home against the Raiders to keep your playoff hopes alive. I mean, that loss Sunday dropped them to 60% chance going into the playoffs. I think if they had won that game, they would have been over 90%. So
it was 91% had they won the game.
Huge swing.
I was blessed by that by producer Kyle. He had shared that with me on a past show. That literally, had they won, we're at 90 plus, and then they lose, and we're in a completely different scenario as Charger fans. I'm flying out for Joe Terry. I'm sure you are. By the way, one of the things I love about the folks that do tune in here is that we got a lot of real diehards. Whether you show up to the games or not, you all have really solid opinions. It's my favorite part about the chat is the fact that you guys teach me shit as much as I hope to maybe provide you with some insight into what you have to say regarding the game and in the sport of football. That Raider game is a must win. And then what do they do on my birthday, December 8th? They go to Philadelphia, or excuse me, Philly play Philly at home in SoFi. Lane Johnson is most likely going to be out. I don't care. I'm terrified about that game. Are you as worried as I am? I see you 80, by the way. Talk to me, Taylor.
Well, I will be at that game, so I'm excited for another Monday night game at SoFi. But I want to be concerned, especially how I saw the Philly defense play against the Lions Sunday night. But who knows what this team is going to look like in 3 weeks? If they play like they did against Jacksonville, they're not going to have a shot. But we've seen them go up against good teams and hold their own. But I picked that game for them to lose in the beginning of the year. I'll probably stick by that prediction. But the main thing is you can't let that defense batter Herbert like he was Sunday against Jacksonville. Just the rest of the season at this point. I mean, the dude is on his path to be the next Andrew Luck, unfortunately.
My issue with that is the fact that you're way too accurate on that, in that he's this incredibly intelligent guy.
Yep.
His family's doing all these incredible things aside from whatever he does in football. And I look at this schedule, and I'm so glad that producer Kyle put this up here. We've got the Raider game, then the Eagles on Monday night in SoFi. Then we're in Kansas City, and then in Dallas, and then it's a Texans, then Broncos game. This is not a schedule that is favorable for the condition of this Chargers team health-wise.
Nope.
It's terrifying as far as I'm concerned. I see 3 wins max. I expect it to be a 9-8 year. Maybe they can sneak in. I hope that early 3-0 division record will support them when it comes to really making this stuff go. But what I want to do before I bring you back in on this, Taylor, is I want to thank all the fans that went out to Jacksonville. So many Chargers fans. It's Duval, Jacksonville. If you haven't been there, there's really not a lot of shit to do there. Sorry, Kyle. Jacksonville fucking sucks. It's horrible.
Let me clarify something, because this mistake gets made way too commonly. A, Kyle lives in Orlando. B, Kyle is a Niners fan. That's what the red hat is for. And C, listen, unless you pay the however many thousands it is for the pool seats, like literally like there's a pool up in the deck, that's the main appeal to the Jag Stadium. And credit to Shad Khan, they still at least sell all the seats. Maybe the fans don't make it into the stadium necessarily, but they sell all the seats, right? They usually, they're at one, I forget what year it was, but it was recent. They were over 100% capacity because they're selling out Wembley in addition to their numbers for
the London Connect actually helps a ton.
Exactly, because you have a bigger stadium in Wembley, and yet they still have enough to do that because they're selling out their home stadium enough. And then when you get the boost from the numbers from Wembley, I'm going full data nerd, but the punchline is
no, we're there. I love it. But let me say this.
Yeah,
I like attention. Shit, I've been seeking it out for 46 years. But what kind of attention do you need to get in that fucking pool at Jacksonville?
I mean,
like the glass is right there on the wall, like, and they walk and everybody, I don't quite have the bikini body I used to have, but I don't know about that whole thing.
At the Chargers game, there was somebody who was dressed up as a mermaid and swam it. It was actually pretty cool.
Of course there was. Why wouldn't there be? Taylor, I don't need a comment from you on that. We're all better than that shit for sure. Listen, so let me back up to the way that the schedule is kind of transpiring, and I love that Kegley kind of threw this in here. And I'm not trying to listen. We're realistic Chargers fans at Bold Blitz. We always have been. We used to be a lot more aggressive. And Taylor, when you and I do eventually have that phone conversation that I owe you, I will explain to you why we used to be that way. There's a good chance. I'm not trying to pull shade or wool over anybody's eyes. That Raiders game, if you do not win that game, it's a huge problem. And it's not that I believe that Kegley's right, that could be the last dub. But what I saw in Jacksonville, that's not a winning football team. When I watched Jim Harbaugh for the first time be really brutally honest, or at least assume all the way of responsibility without covering everything. Yeah, sure. He still did some Harbaugh-isms, if you will, but it was a disheartening press conference to me. I didn't find a lot of life out of that shit. And I hope that they find a way to regroup and that this bye week provides them the rest that they need. Taylor, I ask you this because I'm sure you saw it all over X. All these folks are like, hey, give the players a break because they're all banged up. But this fucking coaching staff needs to be in there 24/7 until the next game. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. We all have families, friends, and things that we need to attend to, if you will. Mm-hmm. But I think it's more on the coaching staff than anything. But what are they going to do with all these players hurt?
You can't coach for injuries, unfortunately. And
you can GM for injuries in the beginning. 80 will agree with that.
Yes, you stole the words right out of my mouth. You see like these perennial teams that continuously are over 500 year after year, and they plan for injuries. I talked about this on a couple episodes back about the Chiefs. They signed that backup left tackle. I think Jalen Moore, I think his name is. Yeah. Right. So they had a plan if Simmons went down because he was coming off that patella injury, and then he was out for a couple games with family matters. Like
the same injury that, by the way, I believe it was a small version of what Slater's facing. Slater would not be out unless he had to be. He would be playing if he could. But it is the same thing as far as I've been told.
Yep. And then you sign an injury-prone Mekhi Becton. Like that was your off-season plan. And to your point too, you talked about being on that Eagles offense. He probably had the year he had because of where he was and who he played around, and having the best running back in the league behind him. Having 4 other top 5 offensive linemen around you takes some pressure off. And this year, I think his PFF grade is the worst on this offensive line.
Yeah, that's not exactly something that we're looking forward to seeing more of. Kyle, you're ready to chime in. Hit me, brother.
Yeah, and call me against the grain here if you want. And I know that after a loss this big for any team, that the right thing to do, air quotes, right thing to do, an acceptable thing to do, whatever you can call it, is to bash the coaching up, right, down, left, and center. I will lead with this. It really bothers me out in the Bolt bureaucracy, and maybe I'm putting some people on blast, and I'm drawing.
Do it all. We're ready.
Bolt folk out there, but it's not anybody on this show I'm throwing shade at. It's other people that want to call themselves, air quotes, legitimate, perhaps. But how is the leading tagline is Roman on the hot seat? It's absolutely stupid to me that you are putting Greg Roman on the hot seat. You've explained.
80, you better leave a comment. 80, I need your backup right here because we agree with Kyle.
I have heard it explained on this show many times and seen other places. Listen, again, let the red hat show you here. I am a Hallbar person here. I'm still mad at Trent Baalke for making that whole pissing contest happen. It's a separate conversation. I need to get out of my tragedy and stop bleeding trauma. The punchline's this. Greg Roman has done stuff other coaches, Hall of Fame caliber coaches, have struggled to do, in that they changed their style to what's there. And you want to fire the only dude that did that. Now, you showed your 4 pictures thing, And you can make the defense for Minter maybe being the one who is at fault. But here's
No, Ortiz, but I got you. I'm still with you. Keep going.
Hold up. I'm going to land this plane. You're going to like my answer because I set everything up pretty nicely, if I do say so myself. The punchline's this. Of the 4 people on that picture, you taught me something tonight, or maybe I forgot it. I don't know. But Ortiz is in here not because the front office brought him, but because the great Jim Harbaugh did. And because of that 4-man picture, Harbaugh today has the biggest fault.
Oh, man, you're about to get everybody excited. Hey, Phyllis, you never have to apologize for showing up. We just love you anyway. Phyllis is one of my favorite people in the world and arguably one of the best Charger fans ever. I just want to throw this out there. Yes, we're pushing for everything we can to make sure that Charger Chick 55, and if it's on Instagram, Charger Chick 76, is the next fan of the year. But there are so many female Charger fans who deserve recognition. No one talks about Phyllis Williams. No one talks about Amanda Johnson, by the way. Her name's not floated out there by a lot of people. She's somebody that I happen to like a lot of her posts because she posts some cat stuff and some adoption stuff. I'm an animal guy. I'm an everybody but people guy because I fucking think people suck ass. Y'all suck. Just as much as I do, almost. But Phyllis, you never have to apologize for being late. We're just glad that you're here. What I want to do, here it is. It's literally the GM not supplying an O-line. It's not coaching prior to injuries. They look decent with a half-ass O-line, especially when Joe Alt was in there. Taylor, I'll let you take that over because John's right.
Yeah. I mean, I go back to the Vikings game when Alt came back, and it was just like a breath of fresh air. Herbert, jumping in the middle of the field with Alt after a touchdown. Him on that offensive line, even with Slater out, just makes a world of a difference. And now we have a left tackle carousel, unfortunately. Penning did not look like the answer on Sunday. But to be fair, he didn't get much help either. There really wasn't any chips on his side. But, you go into the bye and into Raiders week thinking, well, who's going to play left tackle now if Penning isn't that answer and Deckless isn't that answer? My take is that I think you should try Salyer at this point at left tackle.
I'd love to chime in, but I can't add myself to the stage for whatever reason. But what I would like to say now that I am added to the stage, thank you so much, producer Kyle. I really appreciate your hard work. I'm not sure why I wasn't able to do so on my own behalf, but you did that, so we'll figure it out. Trevor Penning was not fucking brought in to be a left tackle. And the fact that they decided that, I mean, come on, that's embarrassing. He should. I understand they were trying to find a replacement for Deculus. And then what did they end up doing? They replaced Penning with Deculus. Those are 2 draft picks that were sent out for some guys that Deculus, I had no concern with what I thought about him because I was devastated they signed him, especially traded for him and giving away a pick. The Penning thing I liked a lot in that if he's inside, he's a bully. So I like bullies inside. I don't like them on an island. So if you are going to decide to put Trevor Penning at left tackle all alone, oh, wait, that's what they decided to do. Mm-hmm. Why was there no 12? Literally, by the way, for anybody who's paying attention, the Chargers last week against Jacksonville ran 11 personnel, more than they have the entire season. That's 1 running back, 1 tight end. You can do the math with 5 O-linemen, a quarterback. I mean, like, come on. What are they doing? I'm not sure whether or not Greg Roman, I'm not suggesting he's not taking this seriously because I would assume he has to. But the lack of a true game plan that would be effective against a Jacksonville team, we all saw everybody all over social media. And it's funny, actually. I kind of enjoy watching the Jags fans just chew up the Bolt fam who had all this stupid shit to say, counting victories ahead of the game. Are you brand new? Have you never been or seen a Chargers game? Like, yeah. It's not over till it's over, man. I'm not going to go through the playoff game, and I'm not going to do the thing where I shut off the game at halftime and I literally talked to my whole family, my now ex-girl, and literally said to my kids and everybody involved, like, it does not matter how certain you think things are in life. It is not certain until they are certain. 35-6, a huge debacle. Moving on, it's the bye week. You're only going to get a little bit healthier. I am obviously a huge Amari and Hampton fan. He was the player I would He was my favorite player in the entire draft. 80's ready to hit me in the comments. I can't wait. Man, the 80 is taking shots at Tony Khan that I can't read on the air. But I will say this. Should Hampton get healthy enough for that Raiders game, I think the Chargers actually can go on a run, and they can use beating a division opponent to forge into that game against the Eagles. I'm terrified. But no Lane Johnson, and we never root for injuries on the show ever, but it's a reality of the game. He's out for a minute. He probably won't be there December 8th for my birthday at SoFi. That being said, as you look at this offensive line moving forward, there's not a lot of positives, but getting a guy like Omari and Hampton back obviously is going to help this team as far as being able to at least try to establish some type of a run game. He's a lot bigger, a little more shifty, or excuse me, not as shifty as Vidal, but he's going to get in there, and he's a very immediate contact runner, and he doesn't shy away from it. What do you expect his impact to be when he comes back?
Well, I can only hope that we have some type of consistency in our run game, because I look at the stats week to week, and 1 week Herbert is the leading back yet again, and then you have another week where Vidal is over 100 yards rushing. So I would love to see the 1-2 punch with Hampton and Vidal in that backfield. But Hampton's going to be that guy that's going to help block. Before he got hurt, he was running fantastic. So I think him in any capacity helps this run game right now. But it always goes back to what I talk about is how's the offensive line going to hold up? I mean, you can't run the ball if you got 5 dudes in the backfield trying to get at him already.
No, 1,000% true. So one of the things that was most frustrating for me watching the last game against Jacksonville literally deployed the plan that the Chargers should have had. Quicks, bubbles, screens, anything that was just getting the ball out of Trevor's hands quickly. And by the way, for everybody who tried to sell on Trevor Lawrence, that's on you. I'm sorry. I know people want to give up on him. I've just watched too many quarterbacks in my 46 years. I cannot be done with a guy that literally willed his team to not just a victory, but like a blowout. And he had so much more to do with that than people think. I know Liam Cohen is a badass. I know Cohen, excuse me. Kyle, you ready to chime in? Hit me, baby.
Yeah, what I find the most interesting, and I forget if it was on this show and maybe even your show, Taylor, where it came up, but people were like, oh, the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to celebrate. I'm like, there's going to be a portion of them that use it as an opportunity to still crap on Trevor for throwing a pick and having that one bad play that was fumbled out of bounds or whatever, or called a forward pass or whatever, that was almost a turnover. That's what they were focused on. Literally heard them talking about it on 1010 and XL in Jacksonville. I think it was yesterday on Twitter. But yeah, those fools out there still taking L's. And listen, we've had the conversation about him being mired in Urban's horrible coaching as a rookie. So I'll leave all of that at that.
Yeah, that's literally an unfair start if we're being completely honest. Urban Meyer, as he's, dancing with 19-year-olds. And I mean, come on, man. And the weird shit. I mean, it is America. So these old white cats, unlike me, we're a little bit dirty. Taylor, you look at this schedule moving forward. We talked about it a little bit earlier. This was a team I looked at as regardless, especially due to the lack of addressing what 80 and I would say a tight end first. I need to do this for 80. Omari and Hampton is and will be forever my favorite player in this entire draft class. Would I have rather had the Chargers take Mason Taylor? Yeah. Yeah. And here's why. Because 80 fucking talked me into him. And the more I watched of him, he's actually a Greg Roman tight end. When I look at this offense, they really need a real tight end. They secured Will Dissly in free agency, and then they tried to make him catch the ball. So I didn't mean to make it laugh that hard.
We know how that goes.
It was bad. He had a couple plays like, oh my God, and he's tough and whatever. He's a healthy scratch for a minute now.
Yeah.
That signing clearly. Weeks. Well, and that signing clearly has not panned out. When you're a healthy scratch, despite having a sizable contract for what is now a third string tight end, he won't be a Charger again. The Chargers really, especially Joe Ortiz, can we please, if you're going to keep keep, Greg Roman as the offensive coordinator. Can we get a tight end that can do both? 80 is looking for him. We're searching far and wide. I promise you, he'll always find one. He had Jackson Hawes, who is now like the 4th tight end in Buffalo. He will not always be that. I guarantee either Kincaid or the other cat will get gone because of what Jackson Hawes does in the pass blocking game and run blocking game. I will also suggest that he gave to us Theo Johnson, who is really making a name for himself, both as a blocker and a receiver for the Giants. Penn State tight end. I mean, his quarterbacks had like this ridiculous passer rating when getting to him. Taylor, I don't know how much you've looked at the draft class, so we're not going to go there. But what would you think about me suggesting that a tight end needs to be one of the utmost importance is going to into this next draft, regardless of the fact that they obviously have to get O-line taken care of?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think right now they have Tucker Fisk as their second tight end. And I don't think that's going to cut it. So I can definitely see, hopefully Roman has a little bit of input in this draft and say, hey, I need a big tight end, maybe a third, fourth round pick. But that
might be the most dangerous thing you've ever said.
Yeah.
I hope Roman has a little intake in this draft.
Just a little
bit.
But
But you know what? Isn't it overdue? I don't know that you could have said anything better there, quite honestly. He has to, because if they listen, 80 and I, as much as we pick on the tight ends and the tight end position regarding what the Chargers do in a Greg Roman offense, we do appreciate a Rondé Gadsden, but he's a wide slot. He's an extra. He's just a big wideout, and that's cute, but he cannot block. This is when you're asking a guy like Greg Roman to come in, you're running duo, you're running power. I mean, it's all gap scheme. And when you have a tight end who's your tight end one, which has been made clear, which I appreciate, that Jim Harbaugh actually pointed that out. What was it? 2 weeks ago, that Rondé is tight end one, but he's just, until he learns to do a little bit better, we're going to have some issues there. It's got to be addressed early on. And the Chargers have kind of been that weird team to where they haven't had a lot of great blocking tight ends, lots of great receiving ones, one who just went into the Hall of Fame. Taylor, you look at it. Let's transition. Let's move forward to the defense. Jesse Minter had a phenomenal game plan for 3 weeks in a row.
Yep.
And then the Jacksonville game. I'm not quite sure what he did or did not do, but what I will say is he shit all of the beds. Lack of attack, sitting back, waiting for things to happen, a little more cover 3 when it should have been a little more aggressive. Your thoughts on Minter? And I'm not talking about moving forward. He's going to be a Charger even longer than Roman will be. But your thoughts on the defensive attack regarding what you're trying to do to limit Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, I mean, they ran all over the Chargers on Sunday. I think Jacksonville had a total of 192 rush yards against the Chargers on Sunday.
Chargers had 42.
Yeah, and Herbert was the lead back, and I think Herbert had more yards himself than all the other running backs combined. So
he tied them. It was 21-21.
Okay.
It was embarrassing.
But also they got no pressure whatsoever on Trevor Lawrence. I think they had 7 pressures all game. Didn't have a sack. That's not going to get it done at all.
Well, and right now, as much as Khalil Mack is still working back from his injury, Thule literally had his first game since forever where he had 0 pressures. It's a tough stat to see, except for the last time that he had 0 pressures was also against a Liam Cohen offense. Listen, for those of you who really hated the Jacksonville thing where he did Duval, that weird shit, and he didn't do it the right way, he's reaffirmed, confirmed that he's legitimately the guy. I watched the Jacksonville. Oh God, this was so hard. The Jacksonville post game in the locker room bullshit. The stats, it's like 30 first downs to 8.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm wrong.
No, you're correct.
I think I nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're not playing football then. Justin Herbert finished with 81 passing yards. Is that an indictment on Herbert? Fuck, who are we talking to? You and I both know better. And the people who listen to the show, deserve better. something's got to give, except for the fact that this should have been taken care of in March, in April.
I couldn't agree more.
So what do we do moving forward? You look at this team, you're in the bye week, and Harbaugh's given a lot of time off. And who cares how long the coaches have off, except for me and everybody else. What would you do if you were trying to forge into this Raiders game? Obviously, you can't sign anybody. There's nobody worth signing right now. But what would you say if you had to give this team a pep talk? And then I'll give them one when you're done.
I would ask, how bad do you want it? I mean, you start off 3-0, 3 division games, and then the wheels start unraveling against the Giants and Washington. Then you go on another 3-game win streak. It's like, what do we have to do? What do we have to do to find some consistency with this team? And I get the fact injuries happen, but I don't think there's too many adjustments you can make at this point to fix the same issues we see week to week. I think Deion Henley had said this a couple weeks ago after they had that bad loss against Indy. And I think he was talking about the Washington game too, that, players have to look within themselves. This interior offensive lines, look within yourself. What do you have to do to improve your play so your quarterback isn't on the ground 5 or 6 times a game? What as a receiver, what do I need to do to get open? Herbert has 2.5 seconds maybe to throw the ball. What do I have to do to figure out how to get open and get the ball down the field? And, defensively, we saw Jacksonville run all over the place. What do I need to do to get pressure? Look internally in yourself and see, what can I do better? I go back to Belichick said this, do your job. What can I do in my job to be better for the whole team?
Well, and hopefully at some point, and listen, if there's a players only meeting there in Los Angeles, y'all can kiss the fucking season goodbye. Anytime you see a players only meeting, it's done. It means we don't believe in our coaches. We don't believe in the infrastructure. I'm not suggesting that's about to happen or will happen, but if you do see that, start thinking about next year. I want to make that very clear. I love the fact that Harbaugh is the head coach. I do not love that in the late parts of the season, it's the same rhetoric. It's the same responses. It's the excuses. It's the lack of accountability. Now, in this last press conference, he really did kind of say, yeah, we lost in all facets. But what I loved, and I need to give a huge shout out to Daniel Popper, Chris Rim of ESPN, y'all were pressing. I mean, they pushed him. And he really just had to continue to find his way to say whatever it is that he could to muster up a response. It was disheartening as a guy who prides himself in speaking publicly, despite what I do on the show. I'm drunk all the time, deal with it. If I was the head coach of the Chargers, I'd be sober as fuck. Not as sober as a priest, because that's not real. But I look at this team and I look at the construct of it, and there are issues everywhere. Greg Roman probably wasn't the best offensive coordinator hire, but he's not even the biggest issue as far as I'm concerned. If you have a general manager in Joe Ortiz who has supplied this team with players that don't necessarily fit his offensive scheme, that's kind of an issue. No one can plan for the injuries that the Chargers have had, but you brought back all of the same depth along the old line from last year. Guys that have struggled to perform, guys that have had issues on multiple levels. It's not just run blocking or pass blocking. It's literally an engagement. I'm not going to get into this. 80 is so much better at that than I am. So I'm not going to denigrate myself by sounding like a fucking fool. But I look at this team moving forward, and there's plenty of hope. There's always hope. There's always hope no matter what you're talking about. But should the Chargers lose this game against the Raiders, they literally go to – or they play the Philadelphia Eagles, sans Lane Johnson, but that Eagles team, they're bullies. They handle finesse teams. And here's where I really put you on the spot, Taylor. This team was dubbed a physical O-line centric building. Competitors welcome. How concerned are you about the trenches in this game past the Raiders game, especially when you face a team like the Eagles?
It's going to be ugly, I think, if there aren't adjustments made. Like I said, I watched that Sunday night game against the Lions, and Goff just looked lost, looked all over the place. I mean, Gibbs had a great game, but it's going to be bad if there aren't adjustments made for that Eagles game. I pray for Herbert that he isn't sacked 6-7 times in that game, because that defensive front for the Eagles is brutal.
Yeah, I'm concerned that will happen in the first half. The 6 or 7 sack. I'm telling you right now, there's nothing they can do now. And that's what has truly and honestly been the biggest frustration of the Bull Blitz group chat. I'm telling you, we've all developed and gotten better for being a part of that chat. We really have. And we're learning from each other and we're gaining more knowledge. But it's just like the rest of the Chargers fan base. The only people who didn't realize that the interior line needed to be completely rehauled were the folks in-house. It was Ortiz, it was Harbaugh, it was Roman, it was whatever. Now, here's where I do something I don't normally do and I'm not comfortable doing. Don't you dare, Hugo. Hugo just brought up Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. I am not ready for that. We'll get to that in a minute. That's devastating. Bozeman is going to be on roller skates the whole game on ice. Roller skates on ice. All of this could have been handled to some degree a little bit sooner. And now we're just in this sit back and wait mode where Harbaugh's like, we're putting whoever we can in there. Everybody's trying their best and we'll see what happens. That is not good enough in an LA market. Taylor, you go to these games home and away. Like you see these fans show up and pay ungodly amounts of money for these tickets and to be in the right spot and see these players and maybe get an autograph later. What is this team doing? This organization, what are they doing?
That's a great question. I just think in the offseason they were too loyal to a guy like Brad Bozeman. And I actually talked to 80 about this yesterday over Instagram, talking about the center position. And there wasn't a big market. I get it for that position. They were going to go after the big free agents on the market, but isn't the quote Insandy's doing the same things over and over again, expecting different results? It's, you saw Herbert get blown up in that Houston game, just bad on all levels. And you thought 11-6 sounds good, and we'll roll it back. And Mekhi Becton's our great signing. Dude's been injury prone, couldn't stay with the Jets. It's and I've said this too on my shows. Like it's a disservice. Like you have a all world talent at quarterback, and this is what you put in front of him.
I'm going to put you on the spot right now. Who would you rather have than 10?
No one.
Same. What are we doing? What are these Charger fans doing? What are these prognosticators doing? What is Nick Wright doing? And I'm not going to say Acho 33's real name, but what are these cats doing? By the way, he finally blocked me, which was adorable. I really loved it. And I by the way, he's not listening right now, but I need to give a shout out to Oscar Portillo. Me gusta yo. Listen, I see that kind of shit and it's fun. And then you feed into the guys who don't know football but host big shows. And then you kind of torment them a little bit, and then they do what they always do, and they just, I can't beat you, and they block you. So now, that being said, block whoever you want. You have one life. Do whatever you need to do with your accounts. I agree with that. But Emmanuel Acho, you're still a bitch, dude, and you know you are. I hit him so many times. Actually, what would have been funny if I would have sent fucking Kegley at him, because he's resilient as fuck, but that's a story for another day. Or we could have just had 80 go at him and just say, like, whatever. Taylor, you've been a kind and gracious guest each time you've been on the show. What I like to do is make sure that our guests are shown out enough. Remind people where they can find you and what you're doing and what are your next plans regarding your show, regardless of whatever you have to do coming on this show.
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts at the Electric Edge Podcast. Socials, I'm at Electric Edge Pod on X, TikTok, and Instagram. Booga always tags me and stuff, so if you can't find my account, I'm sure I'm in some retweet, so you'll find my tag in there. As far as my show, it is the bye week. I actually have a special episode on Thursday talking about how the podcast came to be. So quick episode. I wanted to do
fun.
it. And then next week I'm going to do mid-season grading, which is going to be a ton of fun. So
So what I'm going to do is we'll make sure to do what you've already pointed out that we do is I'll make sure to get that out to whomever will listen. And if you need any support there in the comment section, I hope you allow us to be a part of that. This has been a fun show. We've had the comment section going. Taylor, I'm gonna take a little time to bullshit with these folks. Thank you so much for taking your time to be here. For those of you who don't know, I asked Taylor like, I don't know, 2 hours ago, hey, you want to show up late? And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, well, what if it's at 8:30, which was already the time? And she's like, yeah, I got you. It was more than that. It was actually more enthusiastic than that. If you haven't followed her, please do so. It's kind of nice to have somebody who just really gets straight to the point and doesn't ramble like a guy like me. We appreciate you so much, Taylor. Thank you for doing what you do. And if you guys aren't ready for her mid-game or her mid-season shit, just tune in and see what she has to say. And if you have something shitty to say, I'll come fuck you up for fun.
I read all my comments, so I appreciate it.
Oh, don't you dare.
Yeah, I got to get better with it. I'm still new, so I still read them, but I've kind of had to tune some out.
I'll say this. I doubt your audience is as degenerate as ours is. I'm kidding.
No. It's definitely not. No, Taylor is so straightforward and non-delinquent that she does have a different fan base than us, and that may be a part of the reason why I'm so excited to continue working with her. I don't know that there's another football creator that I've been more excited to kind of move forward with because she's straight to the point. It's really about the team and what she thinks will make them improve. It's less opinionated and it's more about this is what the numbers and the data say. It's literally in the first tweet that I sent regarding her and her show. And I hope that folks are capable enough and confident enough to learn from a gal that really knows her shit. If you're not, that's on you. Taylor, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you.
Thanks, Booga. Anytime.
I know. I'll get you that call and we'll talk about some shit. I promise.
Sounds good.
Kyle, let's talk about the debacle in Duval.
I just
walk away from that game.
I want to give Taylor her props too, because you mentioned she does data, but by the same token, she's not one of these people that does analytics and thinks she knows what she's talking about. She's not going to ever put up, look, Daniel Jones and Trevor Lawrence are the same quarterback. Look at these numbers. No, she's not going to do that. And this is the good data. As somebody who does data for a living, Taylor is the good data. This is what I want to say. Anyway.
Yeah, no. You chiming in is exactly what I wanted right there. You were just on her show and she was just on yours.
A lot of fun.
Well, and it should be when you get to talk football with somebody who actually knows what the fuck they're talking about. I'm so tired. Here we go. I'm so fucking tired of people not realizing that everybody has the same access to the data. I'm going to do this again. I did this on the Amy Trask show. My mother taught me more about cover 2 than my father did, and he was my coach. Sure, look at the safeties, but why are you not checking cornerback depth? Like, don't fucking get me started, man. You are not allowed to talk to me about how women impact this game and have impacted my ability to learn about this game. And I will put this out there right now. I'm not overly X's and O's for everybody. But the players who join my show, the coaches, the GMs, they know that I am. I just do a certain thing on this show where I make sure that everybody finds a way to be entertained, informed, and educated. I'm not trying to best buddy anybody. I'm not trying to fucking trump anybody when it comes to what they have to say unless you're shitty to me. And then I really have a very unpleasant thing to say of all of you. We had a moderator on San Diego Chargers Lovers who I called a little bitch and made sure that he knew he was never invited back again. And his argument was, you'll never run a successful Facebook page like me. Bitch, please. Man, I literally on my own page get almost 600,000 views for fun every 2 weeks. Well, what is it? No, it's 28 days right now because we've fallen off a little bit. I don't care who posts what about their show. This has been carefully and very consciously cultivated for a very long time. I sat in the weeds and I stayed myself just relevant enough. It was closed fingers, which is true. And we're going to figure this out going forward. I have the best producer I could ever have. He's going to teach me some shit. And this show will only continue to get better. We have 11 listeners live right now. Love you. Appreciate you all. We've got giveaways that are all being sent out on Friday for everybody who's won and everybody who tuned in. We can't tell you how much we appreciate you. Kyle, do you have any closing notes to this show? And then I'll follow you up.
Yeah, man. Enjoy yourself going into the Buy Their Bolt, fam. I'll put it this way, and I want to get this out there. This is me playing. This is me doing my Bert Grossman imitation, right? A number of weeks back, despite him and all his rugged glory on this show, even giving me a hard time forgetting to remind him that he was on, which was hilarious, by the way.
Yeah, because we reminded him for like 3 weeks in case anybody's concerned about that.
Hey, listen, I have never felt more efficient than when my biggest contribution on the show was saying, sorry, Bert. And that was the only 2 words I spoke the whole show.
Oh, bullshit. No, your biggest contribution was making sure that you kept a connection between us and Amy Trash. Don't you ever downplay that. I appreciate you. Love you for that. Thank you.
Well, okay. Thank you. Let me tell the story, Booga. I got this. So with all that in mind, here's what I will say. And granted, the defense had their lament this past Sunday in the dive in Duval. See what I did there? But this team looks a lot like a team that won the Super Bowl offensively, whose protection was not great. One of their their offensive tackles gets all the praise. I don't understand why. And I'm sure A.D. Simons will be in the comments or tell me personally, oh, you have a problem with this guy? I don't have a problem. I just think he's overrated. Overrated doesn't mean bad, right? It's a whole thing. That being said.
No, it will never mean bad, but I will tell you right now, the Mekhi Becton signing was overrated from the fucking beginning. And I want to piggyback that. I'm not going to, no, let me do this. I hope that everybody understands that there was some guy on March 12th who said, I want nothing to do with that signing. Kyle, go ahead.
Yeah, please. I'm glad you laid it. You laid that in there. It's a nice victory lap. Speaking of victory laps, though, the team I referred to was the Green Bay Packers when Aaron Rodgers finally won his Super Bowl and did it with basically no offensive line. David Bakhtiari is overrated as hell. I said what I said. I said what I said. Good. Not great. Everybody was. You don't want to know why he was considered great? Because everybody else was the ugly kid at the club. Okay.
Because he could slam a beer at a fucking hockey game.
Well, I mean, I repeat, alignment. But that being said, the reason why this offense reminds me of that is you got a lot of good receivers, enough running back help. A bunch of them would be injured all the time. Everybody remember Sam Congato? Just throwing it out there. Anyways.
Sam Congato, my God. I met him. He was one of the coolest guys ever. I couldn't understand a fucking word he said.
See, there you go.
I'm so serious. I'm so sorry.
It's all good. That offense reminds me of this group that has a quarterback that can lead passing and running, that had injury assistance in the backfield, whose O-line wasn't great, had a lot of good receivers. The defense is going to have to fill the gap, and that's the part where it's going to get a little tough. I will say that much. Hopefully, we'll come to find out that Mentor is coming, and I can deliver that joke unironically.
Oh, I love you so much. That was such a good setup. Listen, if Mentor is not coming, the winter is going to be incredibly long, despite the fact that it's in Los Angeles. He's got to tune this shit up. He had 3 good weeks, and then the game plan against Jacksonville was just as bad as Romans. It was pathetic. I don't know who they thought was going to be able to allow the shit that they thought would happen. It was bad. It felt like a lack of motivation and a lack of, like, I don't want to say care, but it just felt like we're unprepared, but we have a bye week next week. We should win this game. And then they got fucking blown out. I mean, that's kind of the recipe for disaster. And if people have not paid attention, I will see you, John Kegley. If people have not paid attention, this has been a rough year for Harbaugh. Watch him on the sidelines. You're not going to see a lot of that, but if you have all 22, you're going to see it all. And he does a lot of bending back, a lot of bitching, a lot of indecisiveness. And I don't know that these were the things that happened back in San Francisco or even at Michigan, because obviously whatever they did, winning a national championship. But I will say this. I feel like there's a this is the wrong way to say it, but deal with me. I feel like there's a misappropriation of power here. You bring in a Harbaugh guy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I know you're with me. I know, of course you would be. You get it. No, I mean that. I don't know who's really in charge. And the more I think about the comment section and 80 saying this and Kegley saying that, I really don't know who's calling the shots anymore. And until it's proven to me, I'm going to have to side with the fact that it's Ortiz because he's a general manager. But if he does not get better at this shit, sure. He's had some solid drafts in the eyes of the Bolt fam, if you will. But has he drafted offensive players for a Greg Roman offense? The answer is unequivocally no. He has not. The only offensive lineman they fucking drafted was Branson Taylor. Kindly, I ask the fans out there, how many times have you seen Branson Taylor on the field? Oops. It's not that many. In fact, it's that many. I don't mean to put my hand like that towards my mouth because I know how wretched you fuckers are. But what I will do is we're approaching the 56-minute mark here. We've had a lot of people tuning in for a long time. Don't give Booga more reasons and ideas to drink. That's a great point. I love that. It's true. Y'all don't need to do that. Shit's weird here. Shit's been It's not orange, it's pink. You know it's pink. By the way, for those of you who don't know, the shit that I'm working on, I'll do this because they're not going to watch this. I've got the flamingo hat. It's a Chargers flamingo hat. I've got the flamingo shirt. I have the flamingo beer. I've ruptured my Achilles 4 times, 1 partial and 3 fulls. If anybody wants to bet me whether or not I get Natural Light Strawberry Lemonade Natter Days as a sponsor for this show, I'll take that bet.
Challenge accepted.
You don't want because I'm
You know what?
I'm gonna put money on it.
I'll even do this. If you make that happen, my snooty beer drinking self will even partake on the air as well.
Well, then what I will do is I will make sure to get you a 30-pack out there no matter what. And
that
with
does sound like sponsorship when you put it that way.
I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to do that. But anyway, I'm a very convincing, coercive person. For those of you who aren't aware, I'm not tall, dark, and handsome, and I'm still very popular. I will just leave it at that. This has been Bolt Blitz Uncut. This has been the kind of episode that I hope everybody had a lot of fun with. We had Taylor from the Electric Edge podcast. She really nails her shit. And I hope that people are capable of mentally accepting that, yeah, all of these cats, no matter what they look like or whatever, they really know what they're talking about if they're on this show. I'm not inviting anybody on this show that isn't worth the salt of your time. I promise you. Y'all deserve the best, and I'm going to do whatever I can to give you that. Hey, Curtis Givens, I should have hung out with you like 3-4 years ago, but I was literally falling apart. I had 7 surgeries from the first conversation we had till the last one where I said, I hope to see you soon. I think I'm out of surgeries at least for the next like 6 weeks. I do know I have a colonoscopy coming up again, which is really fun. For those of you who haven't had a camera in your ass, it's not my favorite thing. But when you have GI issues like I do and you're semi-dying, you just really have to have things under a microscope, that kind of shit. Hugo, I had a blast as usual. Thanks for making my Tuesday evening even better. That's the fucking point. By the way, Hugo used to come to the meetups in San Diego. Hugo didn't have a ride sometimes. We made it happen. Hugo is one of my favorite Charger fans of all time. He will always remain that. The fact that he's one of the supporters of this show, I truly and genuinely, I need a little more to happen. But I will say, if that was the only thing, it would still mean so much to me because Hugo was here towards the beginning. He was alive when Thomas was alive, when Red was alive, when my dad was alive. You know, a lot of different things that a lot of y'all don't know about me. Hugo's been through some shit with me. So Big shout out to everybody who's been involved. Terry Tucker, I see you. I got your jersey coming out on Friday. Juga, yeah, John Kegley. No, don't look up. No, don't look it up. Don't look up me and Thomas in dresses. R.I.P. Tom. I'll tell. Hold on. We'll close the show with this. I'll give you 3 minutes. I know. So Thomas and I had a bet for a Bolt Blitz meetup. How many people would show up? We put it out everywhere, and Bolt Blitz was kicking, but we had no idea what would happen as far as an event, or who would show up, or if they wanted to come to the Tilted Kilt and look at those gals in the plaid skirts. Well, it turned out that Thomas said, I think there will be 70 people. And I was like, you're stupid as fuck. It will be 40 people. Tops. Guaranteed. But it will be 40 incredible people. I lost significantly. Like, it was huge loss. We had over 275 people show up to the first event. I'm in the bathroom in a dress, trying to get into my dress, realizing I lost the bet. Booga's hanging out, completely naked. And then Powell walks into the fucking bathroom with his dress in his hand and starts getting literally naked. He's like, they just kept cheering my name too. So lo and behold, Thomas Powell and I walk out of the fucking bathroom at Tilted Kilt in front of so many people. By the way, our party was 275 plus, and whoever else was in there that found a way to get into our venue, because we took over the Tilted Kilt back in San Diego when it was really our venue. And it was like paparazzi, man. We're walking out there, and it was just flashes, because everybody wanted to have some shit to fucking put on me and make sure that anytime I said something out of line, they can say, yeah, fuck you, bitch. You were wearing a dress. But what I loved about that is no matter how many times they said that to me, they had to say that to my boy Tom too, and people weren't as keen to say those kind of things to him because he's a little bit taller. He was skinny. He wasn't much of a fighter, but I love him just the same. This has been a completely different, or it's the same episode of Bolt Blitz Uncut. Everybody's hung out. Oh, Phyllis. Another one of my favorite fans. Phyllis, and then I keep canceling out Kyle, and I'm so sorry. I'm getting happy with the button, because I'm actually trying to take a little ownership and actually do the right things instead of having Kyle do everything for this show. Phyllis, it's folks like you, it's gals like you that remind me that this team is worth it. I hope that during this bye week, despite what's happened in the last few weeks, despite what we've talked about in the show, kind of holding this team accountable for some really, really bad performances here and there, I hope we can find a way as a fan base to really galvanize and reunite, because it's kind of wonky, especially if you look at Twitter, and, I don't know, motivate these players to really give their best. I don't know that they really believe in the fan base right now, because I'm not sure that they believe in themselves after a 35-6 debacle in Duval. I hope that Bolt Blitz Uncut can do something to help y'all with that. I know. Yeah, I couldn't stop laughing to run home. So what John is saying by that, and we'll close with this, literally this. My boy Kegley, he'd starve himself. He'd eat ramen just to go to the games at Qualcomm. Ran there, ran home. Times I would try to and make sure he had rides there or wherever. No, I got it. He'd show up sweaty, and then he'd route up dudes in the parking lot while I hit him with 4 touchdowns. He knows exactly what I'm fucking talking about. And I got him one time, but he won't talk about that part. That is how we end the show, because I got to get my licking last, if you will. This is, I don't know. This is Bolt Blitz Uncut. This is the most lighting I've ever had on my face in forever. I'm sorry for that. I'll try to tone it down a bit. I'm Booga Peters. We had Taylor of the Electric Edge podcast on here. Thank you so much for joining us. We had everybody in the comment section, all the great people that have really honored and shown this show that we're worth a shit. Kyle's the producer. I'm the host, but y'all are the people that make it run. Thank you for everything that you do. I'm your host, Booga Peters. This has been Bolt Blitz Uncut. We'll be back soon. Appreciate y'all. Love you.